And so I ran a scenario and I said, hey, what happens if your wife leaves you? And he's like, well, she gets half of everything. And I was like, so meeting with your wife for date night is like a meeting with a $5 million client. For me and Alexis, it came through some really hard times. About 5 or 6 years ago, we ourselves reached a point where we weren't considering divorce, but we were sleeping in separate rooms. We weren't connecting, we weren't communicating, and we totally just did not understand each other.
Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Beyond I Do podcast. We had another special guest with us by the name of David Kiwi. I'm not going to try to say his last name.
David and his wife own Kiwi Coaching, where they help couples build successful businesses and marriages.
All right.
So here we go.
I was still working a corporate job. We were trying to run a side business together, and date nights became project management meetings. What was a hallway embrace was now a hallway checklist. Did you get this done? Did you follow up with that client? And the resentment really grew for both of us to the point it wasn't working. So my wife came to me, and our wives have these great ideas if we'll just listen to them, which I do occasionally. But she comes to me and she's like, we should get coaching. I was like, I don't want therapy. I want a solution. I've been through therapy. I buried 11 people, including my own daughter, in 2017. I've been through some grief. Therapy is great. No, I don't want to talk bad about therapy. Therapy is great, but I was like, I don't want to sit here and heal in the past. I want to know how to go forward. How do I take us from where we're at to where we want to go? And then I realized something. I was like, wait, she said coaching, not counseling. That's different. So I also knew something had to change. Something had to change in us. Our kids were feeling it. It was really bad. So I said, all right, I'm going to shift my commitment, and together we're going to commit to the coaching. And so I wish I could say coaching was like this guru moment that solved everything. It wasn't. But it was like someone finally handed me the tools that I needed to build the future and the life and the marriage that I wanted. They did this through what's called Gallup Strengths. I don't know if you guys are.
So, David, can you tell us who you are and what you do and what do you bring to the wonderful world of marriage?
I love it. I love it. I've been married to my beautiful wife for many years now, and not all of those years were blissful. Back when I joined the Navy, day one in boot camp, they're reading off names. And like John Smith, present. They get to my name, they look at my last name, and they're like, "What the?" I was like, "That's me." They looked at my name, they looked at me, and they said, "You're going to be Kiwi for the rest of your career." And I've just owned it since. Me and my wife actually introduce ourselves as the Kiwis. We're not from New Zealand. That would be awesome, but we're not. But we are the Kiwis, and we run Kiwi Coaching, where we help high-level couples. These are couples that are working either in separate jobs or working together as entrepreneurs who are just burnt out. They've got no time for each other, no time for their kids, and they're like, how do we build successful careers without sacrificing our relationship and our time with our kids? So we teach them how to be powerful at work and present at home. Now, this is not something like, when you're little, you're like, yeah, I want to be a couples coach. Like, that's not really a thing people want to do.
Right,
So
yeah.
for me and Alexis, it came through some really hard times. About 5 or 6 years ago, we ourselves reached a point where we weren't considering divorce, but we were sleeping in separate rooms. We weren't connecting, we weren't communicating, and we totally just did not understand each other.
What would change if you stopped guessing and start building on purpose?
If you love your partner but feel disconnected, our book was written for you.
Unlocking Forever breaks marriage down into real, usable shifts.
No fluff, no perfection.
Just practical ways to build a marriage that lasts.
You can grab it now. Check out the link in the show notes or the description. And
until next time, we gonna holler at y'all.
That's awesome. When you work with couples, you're working with them in both of those areas. What does that process look like when couples reach out to you for support?
Yeah, so most of our couples, they go to our website, they sign up for a free coaching session, and then they get into our coaching program usually that way. It's really been fun. We actually had a coaching couple last night, and we were coaching both of them. They own like 4 businesses, and so
Oh,
they very, very busy. And
mm-hmm.
they make about 10 million a year is kind of the gross.
Oh my.
And they were really struggling with date night. Like, how do we get a date night in? And especially for him, it was like, this is hard. I mean, I know it's important. This is hard, but I could tell he didn't see the value of date night as much as the business. And so I ran a scenario and I said, hey, what happens if your wife leaves you? And he's like, well, she gets half of everything. And I was like, so meeting with your wife for date night is like a meeting with a $5 million client.
Right.
And his eyes got
his
eyes got wide. He was like, "Oh no, this is the point."
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And then I said, "Okay, now take out the divorce value. Right? There's the divorce value of meeting with. Wait, what happens when you and your spouse, and you guys can totally relate with this, when you and your spouse are on the same page and working well together? How much better is your business, your productivity, and your efficiency at work?"
Right.
Yes.
And he was like, "Oh my gosh, it's way better." Because if you have a bad day at home and then you try to go to work and work, you can't work very well. But if you have a bad day at work, but you know you're coming home to a great marriage, you can handle anything.
Right.
Marriage
exactly.
is the foundation upon which the success is built. And so for him, last night, this literally was last night, so you guys are first to hear this. He looks at me and he says, when I first started coaching with you, I knew something needed to change, but I thought you were foolish. And I was like,
yeah.
Fair enough. Because I was making promises like, you guys have a beautiful marriage and you're a power couple and you can do this. And I was telling him the truth. And then he said, but now, he said, I will go on any stage for you. I will give an intro for you because this stuff works. When couples learn to communicate, as you guys know, it is such a beautiful thing to see because then the best version of themselves, they're able to give that to the world and change them, starting with their own kids.
Wow. And do you find often that when you have a lot of, I guess, power couples, so to speak, do you find that those typically are the ones that are more difficult to understand or open their eyes, or is it easier for people who, I guess you wouldn't consider like with your client that you just described, owning 4 businesses versus a couple that, maybe owns one business and they're just kind of struggling trying to make time. Is it difficult for couple A or couple B?
I've worked with, clients that make $10 million a year. I've worked with couples that are, not even 6 figures a year. Both of them have the same problems. Some are on a larger scale, but problems are the same. Right. There's like, how do we get date night in? How do we connect on a daily basis? How do we logistically connect? I mean, perfect one is logistics, right?
Yes.
Take 2 scenarios. So we're going to take couple A, which they're both working corporate jobs and kids go to school. So they got to do the school pickups. They got to go do the school drop-offs. There's a lot of logistics that they have to figure out. And then on top of that, they got to get to work and shift schedules. And then if you add any volunteer work or afternoon sports, then you have all those logistics. Whereas you take couple B, where they own a couple businesses, well, now they've got client meetings and they got investor meetings and then they got to do stuff like that. They still have to take their kids to school. They still have to figure that out. Their schedule may be a little more flexible because they're employers, not employees, but the problems are the same. And the biggest thing is when you connect first as a couple, and then you connect logistically. Those are the 2 meetings we recommend people have every week. You have a date night, and the purpose is you connect. And you have a logistics meeting, which is what's going on this week and who's picking up who. When you can do that faithfully and you protect it like $1 million client, just in that communication alone, you're going to be connected emotionally. You're going to be connected logistically, and your whole week's going to be smoother. And when your week is smoother and you're on the same page, your cooperation and your clarity goes up.
I want to ask about you and your relationship. So you said that when you had started building a business together while there were still problems or before the problems. Go ahead.
No,
sorry. When things started to get bad, you're sleeping in separate rooms. was there ever a discussion about the work situation and maybe we need to pause on this part and work on this first, or did you work simultaneously on both?
Oh, absolutely not. The communication was total garbage at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
there's something we teach now as priority in seasons, right?
Okay.
So, and you guys might have something similar to that, but, and this is something that really transformed for us. There are seasons in life, and in some seasons, the business needs to take place. Perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
Husband starts a new job or wife starts a new job, and they got to learn the new job. They got to learn some new skills. And so, mentally, or what we call your vitality, that is drained because it takes a lot to start a new job.
Right.
Maybe you're doing if you're a couplepreneur, I love that word, and you guys own businesses together,
I
trying
like
to,
that.
you're doing a business push, right? You're like, I need to get this many clients. I'm trying to hit 25K a month, or I'm trying to hit 100K a month. You're doing this push, right? So seasons are usually about a quarter. So a quarter of the year. So there's about 4 seasons in a year, just like the seasons that we have, or when something big happens. So kid has an accident and is in the hospital. Like that's an immediate season shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
in a season, when you say, okay, business is priority for this season, everything else, romance, family, kids, house, gets minimum viable. That doesn't mean it gets ignored. That
Right.
means what
Right.
is the minimum viable to maintain it? And I always like to use a physical fitness thing. If you're like, I want to get big muscles, right? That takes a lot more energy than I just want to maintain my physical physique.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
so when you sit down for the seasons, you guys as a couple, you decide what is the priority in this season. We didn't do that. We didn't even,
Mm.
well, one, we didn't understand that was a thing for one, but we didn't. So like business needed to do something today. And then the kid had accident and my daughter's not sleeping through the night. And we were literally just like, the best way I can describe it is putting out fires, not building our business or our love for each other. And when you're
Right.
constantly firefighting with a fire extinguisher or
Oh
even
yeah.
with water, you eventually
Right.
run out.
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
And then when you
Definitely.
do, you snap at each other. And then when you snap at each other, you create an environment of toxicity. And you're like, oh, we'll just sleep in separate rooms because we can't stand each other.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
where we got.
That's
Because we
right.
didn't realize the season that we were in. In that season, looking, hindsight's 2020, right? In that season, my daughter, we were trying to sleep train her. The priority for that season should have been sleep training our family. So focusing on our family, doing the minimum viable for the business just to keep it running, and really
Right.
focusing on family. And had we been on the same page for that, I think that would have solved like 80% of our problems just on that alone. The 20%, if we had fully understood the three businesses, that would have helped a lot too.
Yeah.
I think that from from what I see, I think that pride gets in the way a lot of the time. So in that situation with you and your wife, recognizing that there's an issue, but both of you at least being like putting pride aside and saying, okay, we need to do something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, I see as a big hindrance for a lot of couples that are struggling, because sometimes you may be right, but that doesn't mean that you need to proceed in the direction you're going.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, pride is huge. I know I'm a pretty judgy person myself. It's something I've learned. I just am. It's my way or the highway, and I had a lot of that. I was kind of a tyrant, which made my wife a slave. And so when you're in
Mm,
marriage, if someone's like, this is how it is and this is going to be my way, that's a tyrant.
Mhm.
And then you have someone says, well, I'll just sacrifice my dreams, my goals, my objectives. That's a
right.
slave.
Right.
You don't want either one in a marriage.
Right.
Right.
What you
Exactly.
what you want is a partnership. And that's where it comes to negotiating. When you have the right tools to be able to argue and win, understand your business, know what the priority of the season is, how to turn unspoken expectations into agreements. When you can do those things and have the tools to do that, you guys can come together on everything. And then there's no
Hmm.
tyrants and there's no slaves. And there's just a beautiful
Yeah.
partnership where both couples win. Man, I
Right.
wish I knew some of this stuff years ago because I'll be honest,
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
was the husband that was, and my wife's not here, so I can't talk bad about her, so I'll talk bad about me. But my wife was like, we need to do something to change. I'm like, I don't want to do, like, I was already burnt out. I'm like, I don't want one more thing. I can't handle
Mhm.
one more thing. What I was looking at was where I was and how I was stuck. And I couldn't focus on where I really wanted to be.
Right.
When I finally did, I finally said, sometimes you just get so low, you're like, you know what? I don't like this direction. Something has to change. And that's usually the moment when those words or whatever phrase is for the you reach the point where like something has to change. That's when you become open to trying something new. With guys, from my experience, when you do coaching, a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's counseling, that's therapy." It's not, but I can totally see how that is. And I was opposed to it. My wife told me the other day, she's like, "Yeah, it took you 2 months to agree to coaching." I was like, "Was it really?" Like, wow, okay. But for me, every time I work with a guy, usually the wife's the early adopter. She's like, I want to try something new. Let's figure out something. It's always the guy
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, no, not my thing. What I always tell them, one, totally get you. I was that guy. But two, what's currently going on in your life right now? And who are you in that story? And is that who you want to be?
Yeah.
Because it's not a
That's
matter of fixing what's wrong with you or you're broken or weak. It's like you're not the best version of yourself. Let's
right.
get back to the best version of yourself. And sometimes it really just takes another guy that says, I've been there, I've done that.
Mhm.
Me personally, I tell people I've been through hell so many times. My punch card is full. My next trip is free.
Yep.
I show up and they're like, don't mess with him. He's just passing through.
That's. I told my grandmother. I said they don't want me there because I'll take over.
I love that. I was like, this is how we run this joint.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, honestly, if a lot of guys would get out of their own heads, you can kind of see, okay, maybe what I am doing is not 100%,
Yeah.
the right thing to do. And it's sad to say, but oftentimes a lot of guys will end up harming the relationship, and then they talk to another guy who has been through that same thing, but their relationship demise, and then, oh, I see now.
Yeah.
Well, you might want to, get some information. So that's good that you were, accepted. I think, it was funny when my wife came to me about coaching. Uh, I was like, what is that? I'm just thinking about when I was in middle school playing football.
I was like, what is this? Some football coach?
No,
Let's
this is
go. That's your
coaching, right?
wife.
Yeah. I have somebody yelling at me. I don't want all that.
Yeah.
It's interesting once I learned what it was, and it still took I know it took a couple of months for me to see what it was. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, well, show me some examples. I can't wrap it in my head that I sit down and somebody tells me something and it helps me. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
like I couldn't see it. So it's good that we have open eyes now.
Yeah. I love it. Was so hard. The first thing for me, like if I was talking to people about doing coaching, right? So if you're a guy and you're listening to this is an amazing podcast, by the way, share with your friends. But
Thank you.
Thank you.
there's a beautiful part. This is a beautiful analogy that my coach told me when I first took it. And imagine a star, not like a gas ball, but like a sketch.
Mm-hmm.
So a star has all these points on the outside, and then of course where the lines intersect, there's points on the inside. The points on the outside of the star, these are your natural talents and strengths that you're really good at, and you love doing them. That may be empathy, that may be command or communication, that may be responsibility or discipline or consistency, that may be adaptability, fly by the seat of your pants. Like everyone's got certain gifts, and nobody has the same ones. And so those on the outside, though, these are what you're good at. And so if you're leading a team or a marriage, and this is what you're good at, by default, most people are like, everybody else should do what I do because I'm successful in what I do, so you should be like me. Well, your outside points, the things that you're good at, may be somebody else's inside points that they're not good at. Those are areas that you're de-energized in. You don't like doing them. And I see this a lot with management. I work with management teams as well. And you'll see a manager that has these skills on the outside, and he's getting all his team to do those skills, but they're on the inside of the team. Well, on the inside of the star, if you work on the skills that you're not good at, the things you don't like doing, by default, you will get better at them, but at a cost. As those skills get better, the ones you're naturally good at will decrease. And your star becomes a circle. And you end up with a bunch of team members who just do the exact same thing. Or in a marriage, you end up with a wife that's no longer shining, brightly in the way you met, and you're like, why are you not being the woman I fell in love with? Because now she's trying to be like you. I see this a lot, especially with couples that run a business together. However, the opposite is true. When you encourage people to do the things that they're naturally good at, the things that they love doing, the points on the outside of the star get bigger, which means they shine brighter, and the best version of themselves can be seen throughout the world. So for a team, as a manager and a leader, that means your team outshines everybody else at your company, or your company outshines all your competition.
Right.
For a marriage, that means your marriage is so strong and so bright that its light affects everything else in your life, from your kids to your business and your work.
Right.
Yes.
And that's what I love about Gallup Strengths, is it shows you what those outside points of your star are, and what the inside ones are too.
I like that.
Yeah.
Usually he'll come in with a car analogy, but I'm going to come in as the educator. But that's one thing that throughout the years with teaching, I've told my students, we're going to use your strengths to compensate for those weaknesses. And so I try to give them opportunities. If I know that you're weak in reading, but you are an artist, we're going to read together and make sense of it. And then I want you to create something that lets me know that we're on the same page. And so the idea of operating in those strengths makes sense to me because of the context that I've used that in.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, when you get a student that's bad at one thing but good at another, and you help develop the thing they're good at to overcome the thing they're bad at, how does that look when they're done? I've never been an educator, so.
For one, they're usually they're shocked that you acknowledge the strength and weakness, if this, especially if the strength is not in your content. So I teach English, and giving them the opportunity to create artistic things, they're usually shocked by those things. And then you get to see them shine. And a lot of times, as the adult, when you get to see them that way in something they're good at versus you're giving them stuff they're not good at, it helps that relationship between the student and the teacher. So they are very positive and open with things like that. Now, the flip side of that is you have those who are good at reading but can't draw. And I have to convince them I'm not an art teacher. I'm not going to judge your art. And then I show them my little stick figures, and then they're okay.
Love that.
But the overall message is we want to make certain that you are able to operate within those strengths to help with those weaknesses. And this is a place where you can do that and take risk and be safe, and no one's going to laugh or anything like that. So.
Oh, I love that. That resonates with me so much. There's two strengths in Gallup. One is called woo, which is winning others over, and one is called empathy, which is the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Well, empathy for me is like one of my very bottom strengths. And so I've been accused, like, you just don't care about other people's feelings. I'm like, nope. But as I worked through strengths and with my wife, she's like, that's not true. You have to stop saying that, because you really do care about other people, but you do it through woo. I was like, please explain. Tell me about myself and why I'm amazing. And she says, well, here's what you do. You get on stage, or you get on a podcast, or you even get in a coaching call, and you see where people are at, and you see where they can be. And you help win them over to the idea that they can accomplish it. And by doing that, you have empathy for what they're going through, and you have hope and give them hope for what they can be and where they can get. And she's like, that's how you have empathy. You have tons of empathy. So it's not that I'm not empathetic, but I'm not naturally empathetic like someone who has empathy high would be.
Right.
I think that's a little bit of me.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah.
That's you.
I'm the mean one.
Love it. One of the beautiful things that we've been working on is called judgy versus accepting.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever shared this on a podcast, so this will be the first time I've shared this. We're winging it. Here we go. judgy, and so we teach this in our coaching based on your top 10 strengths. You tend to be either more judgy or more accepting. And now judgy is not a bad thing. And so I start with that one because it has the word itself has kind of a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
So not judgy as in condescending. That's not what I'm thinking. Judgy as in you have rules in your life that you live by. And they're hard, fast rules, and usually won through lots of trial and error, failure, and success. And so when you see someone doing something, by default, you're going to be like, that's not going to work because you know. So you have this rule. And sometimes rules come from little things. A perfect example of this, I'm very judgy, by the way. When we first got married, this was our first fight, I think. My wife kept leaving the toothpaste cap off the toothpaste. It drove me nuts. Like, to the point we had a fight over it. And I couldn't figure out why. But I was like, there's a rule. You always leave the toothpaste cap on the toothpaste. Well, through therapy, I went through childhood trauma and found some stuff. I was like, as a kid, if I made a mess or left a mess and it dripped all over the bed, I got yelled at. And so when I saw the toothpaste cap off of that, I associated that with I'm going to get yelled at. So I had this rule that said you don't leave the toothpaste cap off the toothpaste. Well, as you go through life, and if you are a kind of a judgy person and you get triggered by something, it's usually because a rule or a belief was violated in you. But here's the cool part. My wife is not judgy, by the way. She's accepting. And because we usually marry our opposites. And so when my wife was upset, I would always ask her, what's wrong with you? By the way, that's not a great question to ask. Do not try that. Because she's like, nothing's wrong with me. But my wife has a strength called belief high, where she has lots of rules. Even though she's an accepting person, she has lots of rules. The new question to ask, if your spouse is judgy, is ask this: what rule was just violated? Because people who are judgy are really good at teaching their rules to other people as they discover them. Sometimes they don't know what they are, though. And so when you ask that question, hey, what rule was violated or what belief was violated? They get to look at it and be like, oh, well, that guy cut me off and I believe that you shouldn't cut people off. And that's a rule I have. And that irritated me. And then they get the opportunity to teach that rule. And then when you know your spouse's rules, you can have the opportunity to honor and respect them. But we've worked with couples where the wife was judgy and the husband was not. She's like, well, I don't want to give him a bunch of rules. And I was like, you're also robbing him of the opportunity to learn what you like and don't like and how to love you best. Because if you don't share those rules, how could they know they were there? Because to a judgy person, your rules are common sense. And as a judgy person, I'm learning it is not common sense for everybody.
Right.
Then you have accepting. Yeah. Accepting is the opposite of judging. Accepting is, I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't know if this is true or false. I don't know if it's going to work or not work. I just got to try it. And perfect example of this at a restaurant. We'll go to a restaurant and I'm a judgy person. I know what I like. And I will order the same thing every time without fail. Because I know I'll like it. And why would I try something new? Because I might not like it. I have this rule. My wife, on the other hand, dude, she wants to try everything on the menu. And then she'll try something new, and she'll try something new, and then she'll try something new, and it's not good. My initial reaction, I've done this, just being honest, like, told you so. Again, don't do this. This podcast should be titled, Don't Try This in Your Marriage.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that at all.
And so instead, when someone's accepting and they try something, whether it works or not, a new question to ask is, what did you discover? Because people who are accepting love to discover and then share what they have discovered. And so for us, those two words, which was what rule was violated or what did you discover or what are you trying to teach? Those changed everything, because now arguments that would kick off with the I told you so and stuff like that were now opportunities to learn about each other. And my wife's my favorite subject. I could study her all day.
Yeah, we do a little bit of balance.
I think that I'm a little judgy. I definitely have hard and fast rules, and like you, I was in therapy and realized the root of some of those things.
I think we may be both except the judges.
You can have
Because there are some things
You know
that
how it's like, it may be 70% judge,
Mhm.
30% accepting. So it could be something like that.
there's certain
Yeah, because there's
things
certain
that
things I'm just
I'm
like,
black and white about, and I don't say I told you so, but my face
she
probably
didn't say
does.
it. She'll let me know,
My
like,
my face
you're not gonna
probably
order that again,
does.
huh?
That's fair.
Um, so I hear a lot of that. You know, I
Yeah.
don't say I told you so though. I just
We had a
my
coaching
face.
client, and the reason this was on my mind because we just did this last night. We had a coaching client we were talking about judgy and accepting with, and so
Mm,
the wife was like 6 out of 10 judgy, so like a little bit of
mm,
judgy, a little bit accepting, but judgy came first. And so one of the things I told her is like sometimes you're like I told you so, or someone comes to you with an idea, I want to try this, and you're like I have a rule that probably is not going to work. So here's what you do. I said ask. So ask, do you
mm.
want to try this to discover it, or you want my advice on whether it'll work or not?
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
then ask
Right.
at the end, instead of I told you so, saying, hey, would you like my advice next time on something like this? Or do you want to talk about this? And so
Mm,
she literally turns to her husband and she's like, so if I ask him if he wants to learn about my rules, he immediately turns to her and goes, I would love to,
Oh.
because he's accepting. And he's like, I want to discover you. I want to discover your rules. I want to know that. And she was like, I didn't know that. It was
Mm-hmm.
one of the most beautiful moments we've had in coaching. And I just sit back and let him talk, right? But it was
yeah.
that, yeah, couples that are in love genuinely want to learn about each other. And sometimes we're like, well, I have this dumb rule and I don't want to share it and I get irritated by it. But if I share it in a moment where you're not mad about it, right? But you help
Mm-hmm.
discover your rules, it is a
Yeah.
beautiful moment because my wife has rules. My wife has rules. I found one out. Do not wake her up at 4 a.m. I wake up at 4 a.m. I love mornings. This is about the end of my day. but,
That's
but yeah, don't wake her up at 4 a.m. 6 a.m. is okay, but 4 a.m. not okay. I learned this the
Yeah.
hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of funny you're saying all this because it's I'm going over our relationship throughout the years, and you're right. We want to learn because my thing has always been I'm a peacemaker
Mhm.
and I want to make peace. So tell me what it is that I'm doing that's wrong, so I won't do it. And it's not, well, you should just learn me. Now you tell me what it is so that I can adapt. And then I will know, okay, even if I'm getting ready to do it, I was like, oh, let me stop because that's going to upset her. You know what I'm saying? And then that makes the day a lot smoother, less arguments, less fussing, less everything. Just give me the cheat sheet, dang it.
Oh man, I love it. I have a whole thing called cheat codes, which is like cheat codes in
Right,
arguments,
right,
cheat
right.
codes in
Yeah, yeah.
bedroom, cheat codes. Like I got cheat codes, man. I love cheat codes. Well, here's
There
a
you
cheat
go.
code for that exact scenario, right? And kind of what it sounds like. I don't have your strengths reports, but if I was to guess, you're judging and you're accepting, right? Sorry, I don't
mm-hmm.
know which way you were on the camera. Margaret, you're judgy.
You got it right.
Brian, you're
I
accepting.
yeah.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So when there's a moment where you can tell, oh, she's triggered, something's up, ask what rule or belief was just violated,
Mhm.
because that gives her that opportunity. And then if she's like, well, I don't want to talk about it, like, that's fair. I would love to learn though when you're ready.
Right.
And when you learn her rules and when you learn this, like, don't leave my military boots on the thing. I learned that one. Like, still little stuff like that. And you learn that
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
And then the other part of
Mm-hmm.
it is too, for Margaret, right? If he's accepting, he wants to try things. You know it'll probably not work out. But if you say, do you want advice on this or do you want to just go discover it? Because someone
Mm,
who is accepting needs to discover it themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I have learned
yeah.
that when I let my wife discover it, even if she's right or wrong, being wrong doesn't bother her. She just wanted the experience of it. And when I
Mm.
allow her permission to go discover without judgment from me, the
Mhm.
best version of her starts to come out.
Wow.
That's
That's
we I definitely can think of experiences that
mhm.
where I can see that dynamic play
Yeah.
out. For me, because of childhood stuff,
I hear
it's
it.
hard for me to share those things because I feel like I don't want to overwhelm or be a burden. And so if he were to invite me to share those things, it would be helpful because then you're asking me versus me feeling like I'm dumping something or telling you something. So I like that. I definitely can see that dynamic.
Absolutely. And if I maybe get a little personal here, I've been through a lot. My wife has been through a lot from our childhood.
Mm.
Hmm.
Right.
And when you're with the person, your best friend that you trust the most in the world, and you truly do share something that you're like, this is personal. What I call it's of the three worlds, it's the private world that we don't share with people.
Mhm.
When you
Right.
share that though, and it's your best friend, it's your spouse, they treat it like a pearl. They're like,
Hmm.
Yes.
wow, you shared that with me. I want to protect that. I want to honor
Hmm.
that. That's sacred. Now,
Right.
Exactly.
you are right about like in the heated moment, probably not the best time.
Right.
But if you're
Yeah.
like, hey, I like I've done this with my wife. Hey, I know a rule got violated, but we have kids in the room, and I have a feeling it's attached to something. Can we talk about that later tonight?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right.
And when we
Right.
do, and she shares that, that bond just grows.
Yeah. And it definitely helps to like be able to get inside the mind of your mate because it helps to navigate and also just creating that connection.
Yeah.
It's like now I know you more. Is I can respect you more because I know this about you, and it's something that I'm more connected
Hmm.
because I have this information and you shared this with me. It definitely does.
So for the couple or and I would venture to say that a lot of times it's one person within the couple realizes something needs to change. If you had one thing that you could tell them to get them moving in the right direction, what would that one thing be?
Ooh, so if like one person's like, I know something needs to change, the other person's like, I don't need fixing.
Or I don't want to talk to those people, or we can
Yeah.
take care of it ourselves.
I was that person, the one that didn't want to talk to people, and now I'm turning around coaching it. Right? Never be so attached to your current self that you
Mm.
don't give future you a chance.
Mm. Yeah. That's spot on right there.
And that puts the accountability on you. And I think we lose sight of that. And when you're married, you're a couple and you operate as
Mm.
one, but that means that both of us have to be accountable. And I like that, the self-reflection.
Yeah.
I think that's been a big thing with us.
And then the future you is
Yeah.
like, well, and I think a lot of times with men especially, we think we've arrived, we've got to this point. I'm old, I know all this stuff. I should know all these things, but then it's like, okay, now I can be better. And that pride won't allow us to admit that I can, you know, change a little bit, but
I'm a professional at shoulding all over myself.
yep, shoulding.
I shoulding, I should all over, and then I should on other
Yep.
people, and it's great. Change
I'm a
the,
shitter too.
yeah, change the word should to could. What if I could be a future
Mm,
version that's better? What if I could
Mhm.
help other people around me have the marriage that I do? What if I
Mm.
could quit my corporate job after 10 years in it? I got a master's degree in cybersecurity, right? And
mm,
switch to doing full time coaching. What would it be like? Who could I help?
right.
And what difference could I make? Because then when you open that door to possibility, it's not a
Mhm.
matter of fixing you or putting in what's missing.
Mm,
It's about bringing out the best of what you could be.
Right.
right.
I like that.
Before we get ready to wrap up, I have to ask you this question. Now, you say you have three kids and one on the way.
Mhm.
Okay. So, well, we're not the corporate job right now. So, you're full time coaching.
Yeah.
How do you and the missus make time for those date nights and those special times together?
Oh my goodness, that is a fantastic question. And if I could give one toolkit, one cheat code of everything I've given. This is probably the one that's transformed our life the most, and it's called couch time.
Couch time.
We call it couch time because we usually do this on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids should be in the room. So here's how this goes. This is 5 minutes. If you can't find 5 minutes in your day, you're just too busy. There is 5 minutes somewhere in your day to be able to do this. And this is a connection ritual. So what you do is you sit down with your spouse and you're going to ask 3 questions to each other. So you take turns.
Okay.
And these 3 questions, you can transform them and morph them to what fits your lifestyle best, but I highly recommend starting with these 3 to get started. The first one is this. What was the best part of your day? This gets them to share the highlight of their day. Their day may have been crap, but this was the best moment for them. And when you do that, you actually, this is called joy multiplier. You get a dopamine hit. And when you asked the question, they get a dopamine hit and associate it with you. So one of the most addictive drugs known to man is now associated with you and your spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the second question, though, after you get to relive that moment together, is this pretty much the same thing, but it's what's the worst part of your day? And we talked about those pearls and sharing the moments of hardship. These are the moments where you share, I really struggled with this today, or this happened and really irritated me, or this didn't go well. And it's big thing here, this is what I struggled with at first, is this is not a correct it or fix it moment. This is a connect moment going, wow, that was hard. That was rough. I'm sorry that happened to you. Or goodness, man, that stinks, right? It's a connection opportunity.
Yeah.
And then the third question is what's one thing I can do for you today? This gets the spouse to really realize, okay, what is the one thing that I really need from you today? And sometimes it's something simple. I know I've done this with my wife. I've said, can you wash socks? I need clean socks for tomorrow. That would be huge. Can you do that?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's bigger. But then you've connected on your best parts, your low parts, and you have an action plan on how you can help each other that day. And it only takes about 5 minutes, sometimes 15. Cool part with the kids, though. With little kids, and I've got some littles, I've got some almost teenagers. But with the little kids, it does take a little bit of training. The mom and dad are doing couch time. You can be here, but you're not supposed to interrupt unless the house is on fire. That's different. But with that, though, I worked with a child psychologist. And children as young as 1 have a psychological understanding that their survival is dependent upon these 2 adults getting along. So when they see you connecting on the couch and they see you getting along and communicating, their little hearts are at peace. I found this out because me and my wife weren't connecting. We were sleeping in separate rooms and stuff. That my daughter had so much anxiety, she had sleep issues.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's that level of like, oh my gosh. However, when you're connecting, their hearts are at peace. When me and my wife started doing couch time, my daughter slept better. Now, some results may vary. That was our story, but
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But when they see you fighting all the time, their little hearts are anxious.
Right.
Yes.
And on top of that, and this is what I love with the coaching, is by default, though, when you are connecting, your children, your older children especially, are learning how to do that in their future marriages.
Right.
Yes.
So try couch every day.
Yes. That. That's neat. I like that. And it's because there's definitely a truth to people will say that they're going to stay together because of the kids. And, oftentimes that's not the greatest thing because the kids feel the tension.
No, if you're not
in the home,
it's not a great thing.
They know it.
Because they know, right. You can pretend, but they know.
Yeah.
And it affects them. I'm that kid. I'm that kid.
Absolutely. You started without kids. Most couples do. It started without kids. It came along, and then kids will eventually leave, and it'll still be you two.
Right.
So, of the priority hierarchy, when you focus and you say, "I'm doing couch time every day," and you make that a priority over your kids, and you connect with your spouse, it doesn't take long either. It doesn't take a little bit, and then you connect with the kids, and then you handle the logistics. When you do that, your marriage is strong, and you can conquer any part of your day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. I like that.
Well, we want to thank you for your time. We know that it is precious
Oh
and
yes,
thin
yes.
with all the babies and the
And
business. And
go back to mom and give her a break.
if you could let us know, for listeners who want to reach out to you, who want to learn more about Kiwi coaching, how can they find you?
The best way to find us is on social media. We're on Facebook as our big primary platform. If you reach out to us there, we'll set you up with the training that you need. And if you want a free session, you can always ask there as well, and we'll set you up with a free one-on-one. Because I'm big on try before you buy.
Right.
All right.
That's fantastic, man. Well, David, we appreciate your time. And I'm still up here still because your name is on the screen and I'm still in my head. I'm trying to sound it out. So can you say it so I'll just stop doing that?
Yeah. So my last name is Kiwimagi. In the original
Kiwimagi.
Estonian, though, it's Kiwimagi. My name is misspelled.
Wow.
Yeah, so it makes it even worse.
There's a story, though.
Well, I thought.
There is. I think it's an Ellis Island thing. The V became a W.
That's neat.
Well. I tell you, that was a lot of wonderful information David shared with us.
You ready to go have couch time?
Yeah, let's do it. The kids ain't here, though.
I like the idea of the connecting. It doesn't take long, and it's so important. So, couch time and several other pearls of wisdom dropped.
Well, we had bedtime.
We did.
I mean, it
This,
was the time in the bed, not.
So I was about to say somebody like clicking in on that part, couch time and bedtime. They might not get the gist of what we're talking about, but whatever. All right then.
Until next time, we gonna holler at y'all.